to Principles of Economics. Under Principles of Economics course, we are going to look at 6 different units. And we believe that by the end of this entire course, you should be able to, explain some basic economic terms and solve 1 or 2 microeconomic to specific, questions. So as I said, we are going to deal with 6 different units, and under each unit, we are going to deal with 6 different sessions. Now, this unit 1, we are going to talk about general principles of economics, and we are also going to talk about 6 different units. Like I said, under every unit, we are going to talk about 6 different sessions. Under unit 1, we will look at meaning of economics for session 1. Session 2 will be scope of economics. Session 3 will be concept of scarcity and choice. Session 4 will be the concept of opportunity cost and production possibility frontiers, what people call the PPF. We will look at an economy and its role in session 5, and we will look at the types of economic systems in session 6. So let's just focus on session 1, that is the meaning of economics. Under this session, or by the end of the session, you should be able to give at least 3 different definitions put forward by some economics concerning economics. So I'm talking about giving a definition of economics. What is economics according to experts in econs? And you should also be able to argue that economics is a science subject. Also, you should be able to provide at least 4 reasons why we study economics. When you are able to do this, it motivates you to understand or learn more and more of this course. So let's get started. What is economics? Economics has been defined by many academicians. We can talk about the likes of Adam Smith, J.S. Mill, Herbert J. Davenport, Alfred Marshall, and Paul Samuelson. And other people have defined economics. So like we said, by the end of the session, we should be able to explain at least 3, give 3 definitions of economics by any of these people that we see here. So you should be able to explain economics. So let's now look at how they explain economics, and you select the ones that you are okay with. All right. Now, normally Adam Smith is normally referred to as the father of economics. Let's say he brought economics. That's what people say or we believe. And his definition of economics is that economics is an inquiry. So there's an inquiry. Economics is an inquiry into the nature and what causes of the world of nations. Let's take it again. Economics is an inquiry into the nature and causes of what? World of nations. That is what Adam Smith says. Now, how about J.S. Mill? How does J.S. Mill define economics? J.S. Mill says that economics is the practical science. Practical science of what? Production and distribution of what? World. Now we can see some similarities between the definition of J.S. Mill and Adam Smith. Now, J.S. Mill and Adam Smith make mention of what? World. They make mention of world. But J.S. Mill says that economics is the production of wealth and the distribution of wealth. So you should be able to produce and distribute wealth accordingly. Now, how about Herbert J. Davenport? How does he, explain economics? He says that economics is the science. So you see, he's also making mention of science. Economics is the science that treats phenomena from standpoint of price. All right. How about Alfred Marshall? I believe you've heard of Alfred Marshall before. Alfred Marshall describes economics as a study of mankind in ordinary business of life. Business. Business. That is the interesting part. Business of life. Study of mankind in ordinary business of life. Now, how about Lionel Robbins? How does Lionel Robbins define economics? He says that economics is the science. He also makes mention of what's the word science, which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and what? Scarce means, which have alternative uses. So this definition by Lennon Robbins stresses scarcity of resources and choice decision making from what? Alternatives. From alternatives. How about Paul Samuelson? How does Paul Samuelson define economics? Paul Samuelson says that economics is the science. You see, all of them are saying science, science, science. It's the science that studies how man or society chooses from scarce productive resources that have alternative uses to produce goods and what? Services for distribution. You see the distribution also coming here, distribution and consumption now or in the future. Let's take it again. He says that economics is the science that studies how man or society chooses from scarce productive sources that have alternative uses to produce goods and services for distribution and consumption now or in the future. Now or in the future. Now we can see how similar these definitions are, and all these definitions differ in scope and emphasis. In an attempt to cut across controversy, we could simply say that economics is what economists do. Yes, and that means that this means that it is easier to describe economics than to define it. A working definition of economics is that it is a science that studies how society uses limited resource. It is a science that studies how society uses limited resource. How society uses limited resource. So you say how society uses limited resource. That should be your definition. Yes, and the limited resources have alternative uses in an attempt to satisfy what unlimited human wants. So let me take it again. Brief definition of economics is that economics is the science that studies how society uses limited resources which have alternative uses in an attempt to satisfy unlimited human wants. Unlimited human wants. So now let's now look at how or why economics is a science. We are looking at economics as a science. The reason why we say economics is a science is that economics uses scientific method like the natural sciences and other social science. Remember in junior high school or even in senior high school integrated science, we learn about the scientific method. Science, the systematic way or approach of blah blah blah. You see, so economics actually also attempts to find a body of laws of nature through scientific method, which consists of a number of elements. Remember, they also you observe, you formulate a hypothesis, you conduct an experiment. So I believe you remember. So that's the element we are going to look at. So when we say economics is a science, because of the scientific approach or method it follows, the elements economics goes through that. Economics also ensures a careful and systematic observation of facts and measurement of economic activity. So maybe we are in Ghana, so one may observe, carefully observe, and the facts and measurement of the economic activities in the country. And based on those facts, people or like economists may form a possible explanation of the cause and effect. So we say, okay, maybe this leads to this leads to that. Maybe, okay, because of the exchange rate, the fuel prices are going up, or they are coming, like those kind of things. And we test, we test the explanation by comparing outcomes of specific events to the one we predicted. And then we either accept or reject, depending on our finding. We either accept or we will reject, or a modification of the hypothesis based on the comparisons we make, and then we can continue testing of the hypothesis against the facts. These are the reasons why we say economics is a science. Let's summarize what we went through in this session. So laws, principles, and models actually enable economists, like the natural scientists, to understand and explain reality and to predict the various outcomes of particular actions. However, economic laws and the principles are usually less certain than the laws of physics or chemistry. The predictions in economics are not as exact in the natural science. The results are different. And so for this reason, economics is described as a soft, take note, is described as a soft science or a social science. The fact is that man is a subject of observation and may not easily be subjected to strict test or prediction. That brings us to the end of this session. See you in the next session, still under the principles of economics, general principles of economics, that is still under unit 1. The next session we are going to talk about the scope of economics. Thank you.